This is another video of me live trading for an entire week. Let me know if this is something you want to continue to see. Maybe make this into a series, once a month kind of thing, because I feel like some of you just skip to the end to see how I did, which is fine, but I think for the others, maybe I can sprinkle in some knowledge here and there while keeping it short and sweet. And I think it'd be cool for me to kind of be able to come back to these videos just to see how I was trading, what I was trading, see what I was doing right and wrong, and just kind of archive the journey, I guess. So I did one for July, August. This one is for September. This is actually the last week of September. Let's get into it. So kicking off with Monday, the SLQT was the stock I focused on. If you've been following along, you know I've been trading a lot of penny stocks this year, and this SLQT was gapping down about 7.5% or so off a 123 on the daily, looking to break through the prior support area. Took about the first hour to get some volume in and for the spread to tighten up. It had this nice low of the day base for a breakdown. And as it triggered, it started to base again, and it still looked good for lower. So I decided to add and reduce, which basically just means adding to my position and lowering my stop, which allows me to size up. I will say this thing moved like a snail. This trade pretty much took all day, which I don't mind as long as it's going in my favor. But it does get tiring keeping a close eye on this all day because I did end up building quite a bit of size on it as it stair-stepped lower. It didn't trail me out until literally like the last 5 minutes of the day. So with time running out, I started to take my profits while trying to avoid slippage on the way out. And that was it. Not a bad way to start the week, especially because there hasn't been much to do lately, being out of earnings season. And I noticed for me, it feels a bit more satisfying when I'm able to make some money when it's slow than making more money when it's busy. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So the next day wasn't much different. I continued to watch and trade the SLQT since I didn't have any favorite gaps this morning. The volume seemed to have leaked over from yesterday because it did gap up, taking out yesterday's move. So just scalped that at the open, and then pretty much the rest of the day was quiet. Just dabbed on some scalps here and there to test the waters, but nothing was moving or following through. So just pretty much sat on my hands and protected the money I made at the open and called it a day. Here's Wednesday, which wasn't any more exciting, although there were some interesting gaps to watch at the open like the LLY and SAND, but none of which really set up for me. I did have this FFIE on my carryover list, another penny stock which did well for me last week, and had a sell set up off the 2-minute. Looks a bit sloppy, I know, but it had an interesting level 2 on it for lower, and also couldn't go too crazy with the size given the liquidity, but followed through and made about 2 Rs on it. Didn't do much for the rest of the day because there wasn't much to do. Tried scalping the SLQT again, which made a tiny bit, but another quiet day overall. Thursday, however, we got some blood flowing. First, I ended up missing out on this SUNL as a short because I was caught up watching the SLQT and FFIE again, just because those two have been the moneymaker for me this week so far, so just wasn't paying close attention and being aggressive on the other gappers at the open, but that would have been a big play. So now I kind of felt like I missed out on the big play of the day, but I think what I did right was I stayed patient, didn't try to chase the SUNL, and just waited for something else. And heading into the afternoon session is when I came across this VLTA. This thing has been getting sold off on the daily, and as it tried to bounce off the extension the day before, it got rejected today and gapped down under the lows, producing a sell setup off the 5 and the 15 minute on the intraday charts. It gave a pretty tight stop, but wasn't available on TOS, so had to short it on E-Trade. One thing was that it was difficult to get filled on since it was on an uptick, so I kept trying to get more shares as it was coming in. And by the time it got to the low of the day, which was my target, I did end up with a decent share size, but it still looked like it wanted to continue lower. So I decided to add and reduce as it made new lows, and surprisingly, it felt a little bit easier getting filled this time, and covered it once it got the drop off the grind lower. So really nice play. And the rest of the day was just some scalps, ending up little under 6K. So sucked to have missed that Sun L. Glad I caught the VLTA, but would have been really nice if I got both. And finally, the last day of the week, I focused on Nike at the open. It reported earnings and gapped down almost 13%. So I was looking to short it off the 123 on the 5. It also did have one on the 2-minute, which triggered, but because it was gapping a bit too much off the prior support area, and also got sold into earnings and was a bit jumpy at the open, I didn't want to be too aggressive with it, so waited to see if the 5 would set up. But it never ended up triggering and saw that the VLTA was looking lower again this morning as a breakdown. So I got involved in that, got filled, but it decided to flip on me and I couldn't get out timely, causing some slippage, so I lost more than an R on it. Always sucks to start the day in the red because now I'm in a spot where I need to crawl my way back up without digging myself a deeper hole. But I've been here many, many times, just need to wait for my spots, and saw this ATER, which was also one of my top gap watches this morning. It's just that it wasn't doing the volume at the open, but once it got going and set up as a breakdown, I shorted what I could get filled and made about an R on it. Then I tried a 5-minute sell setup on AVCT, which gapped down heading into a reverse split, failing a buy setup on the daily, but the issue was it was into support. So I played it pretty tight and trailed out early. After that, I decided to go back to what worked for me today, which was the ATER, and reshorted it as it broke down again, which made another 2 Rs, and it started to accelerate a bit, so I did try it long on the bounce. Looked okay since the volume plus the reversal bar came in, but instead made new lows and I took a hit on it. And also missed it when it did actually bounce. So I knew it was coming, just my timing was off. Then towards the end of the day, I saw the VLTA basing at the low again. This thing has been weak all week, so shorted it on the breakdown for a quick drop, and that was it. All right, so that was the week, green across the board, and I felt like I traded pretty well overall. If you've seen my How to Approach the Market psychology video, I think this week was a good example of that, where I kind of waited and picked my spots, because you have to realize that these are 6.5 hour trading days. So what you just saw was 30 plus hours of trading. And a lot of that, especially these days, is just me sitting around staring at my monitors, scanning for plays, maybe testing the waters with some scalps here and there, and just trying to maximize the winners. So hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like if you did. As always, I appreciate you for being here, and I hope to see you on the next one.